Let's take a look at some of the spring questions, even give you a little preview for what you can expect for the Alabama Crimson Tide as they get ready to start spring practice here in the very near future. I'm telling you, football is not that far away. The first thing that we got to look at, and the thing that will probably dominate headlines well into the first few weeks of the fall, what's the mesh of the new coordinators at Alabama? Because you got Kevin Steele now calling the defense coming over from Miami. You got Tommy Rees calling the offense coming over from Notre Dame. When you're reading Bama Insider, the Alabama On 3 side, I want you to make sure you're locked in there, get a membership. When you're reading the message boards and you're reading the spring intel from Clinton Lamb, this is a phrase I want you to look for, and it's going to help us just get a good gauge for how far along they are in the meshing of those new systems on offense and defense. Our guys, quote, flying around. Now, that's a football term. That's cliche coach speak. Hey, guys, we're out there. They were flying around. Some of that could be just bells and whistles and just spring football practice speak. But the reason why I'm looking for verbiage like that is whenever you hear something like that, it means guys are playing fast. It means guys aren't thinking a ton. Guys aren't having to think a ton. They're able to process quickly and not get into the way of the scheme, because when you look at Alabama and what you look at what they have on the roster and the amount of talent they have, talent's not the issue. It's putting that talent in position to succeed. And it felt like at times a year ago, offensively and defensively, this scheme got in the way of the talent. This isn't a situation where you have to try and account for the talent you don't have with a great scheme. No, I want to read that guys are flying around, processing quickly, playing to their strengths, able to just go out and do what they do, man. Ball players play ball. Let the kids play. You don't try and saddle a wild horse. When this talent is utilized correctly, when you're not having to process, when this scheme meshes quickly on offense and defense, they're going to be really dangerous. They're already really dangerous just by getting off the bus and being Alabama and having all the talent they have. But if you put that in position to succeed and take away the desire or the effort to try and overcomplicate things, you're in good shape if you're Alabama. So the meshing of the coordinators, again, that key verbiage we're looking at is guys are flying around. Guys are playing with good pace. Guys look they're playing fast and free, not afraid to make a mistake. That means the scheme and the system is putting them in position to succeed. It's not an absolute. Again, it's just spring football, so we're trying to just take a temperature as opposed to getting an absolute identity, but that's what we can take away from as we move into spring football for Alabama. If you have not yet subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel, we got you covered, man. Spring intel, we're going to major in that here as we get into spring camp. So subscribe. The Hard Count has content for you every single day. Lock it in. Also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel. Get at me on there. I want to hear from y'all. I want to do more of what you want to see. What's the pulse of the quarterback race? You got Jalen Milroe. You got Ty Simpson. You got Eli Holstein. And it's going to be a new playbook. So why is that important? Well, obviously everyone has to digest it and get on the same page with their receivers and all that. But kind of the interesting piece of this, when you get a new playbook, the experience factor, it still matters in terms of having been in a college huddle before, but the experience factor, I think, is mitigated just a little bit. So Eli Holstein, how much of a factor does he play? Freshman from Louisiana, tons of ability, very much so developed physically, according to Charles Power, director of scouting and rankings here at On 3. Is he more of a factor in this quarterback race? What you'd like to have happen, if you're reading on Bama Insider, is for there to be a, quote, clear favorite that separates themselves by double-digit practices. So by practice 11, 12, what's the divvying up of these reps? What does it look like in the spring game? Who takes the first reps with the ones? What are people saying behind closed doors? Over on Bama Insider, again, make sure you got a membership there. They're going to keep you in the know. But if it's a clear favorite by that point in spring practice, that means you likely have your guy for the fall. And having a clear starter for fall camp and having a direction, it just allows everybody else to get acclimated. Like when you have a leader of the herd, you know who to follow. Right? I mean, if you have 3 or 4 guys that are all trying to be leaders, that's great. You need leadership across the board. But at the quarterback position, I want to know who I'm following. I want to know who's going to be our guy. Now, there's other factors in play here with the transfer portal and keeping depth, so I understand that. But if we can get a clear favorite gauge, or at least have a leader in the clubhouse, I think that would serve Alabama well. Also, it just means that somebody took over the job. Whether it's Eli Holstein, Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, whoever it is, it means that they came in there, they were prepared, and they are the clear-cut guy for the job. And they took that thing by the throat, and they're running with it. Okay, so they are very clearly your superior talent or superior option at quarterback, okay? Which I want at quarterback. I want my quarterback to be an alpha and taking over in spring practice, I think would communicate just that. The reason why it's so important, there were times last year where you flip on the Alabama game and you would just see number 9 go crazy. And you would leave that game feeling, hey, we won, but if number 9 didn't play out of his mind, do we win that game? Right? I mean, that was kind of a thought of, hey, there was a lot of Bryce ball being played. And that's not to knock Bryce Young. The exact opposite. Bryce Young was the magic eraser for what you lacked at different times on offense. I think some of that, again, will be taken care of because of the new scheme. But at quarterback, you're not going to have Bryce ball anymore. You're not going to have that magic eraser for mistakes across your offense. So with that being said, you got to have a quarterback who is capable of getting everyone on the same page and elevating everybody's game with him. It's going to be a first-year starter. It's not going to be someone who just says set hut, makes some plays. That's okay, we missed a protection. That's okay that our receiver didn't get open right away. He was able to separate when the play broke down. Like, we still need guys to make plays, but even more so, you need a quarterback to elevate everybody's level of play. Command of the offense, being the guy. It just keeps going back to that. Can you be the guy? Can you separate yourself as the guy in spring practice? I'd love to see it. Whether we get a starter or not, the verbiage, the way that you're talking about this quarterback room, does an alpha separate themselves? It's going to be important. Who's taking reps at free safety? Who's taking reps at free safety? You have two good options at corner. You got Terry and Arnold. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. You have some guys, but the secondary still, for all the talent, underperformed when you turn on the tape. Now, statistically, they weren't bad at all, but there were a couple of games where it felt like the way they played the ball in the air really came close to hurting you. Whether it was the A&M game, whether it was the Tennessee game where it did hurt you, the Texas game, it could have hurt you. There were a couple of instances where you're like, man, if we can just improve that level of technique maybe in the secondary, maybe it's just playing the ball better in the air. I think the safety position is going to be fascinating because you lose Jordan Battle, you lose Brian Branch, some experienced football players there, some guys that made a lot of plays in the secondary for you. You're going to have likely a first-year starter, whether it's Jake Pope or Caleb Downs. Now, Caleb Downs, if you watch this program, you know we think very highly of him. He's going to be in spring practice. He's already was there for bowl practice. He's a guy that's going to have a chance to really make a go at this thing. Some outlets are already predicting him to be the number one guy at free safety. If that happens, look out. He's got a lot of ability. And that means if he is named the starter or he's taking reps with the ones, that means that ability is translating to the college level and he's done the right things in the weight room, in the playbook, in the film room, all that. He's proving that the college game isn't going to be a big jump for him. And that's special. Every now and then you have these freshmen that show up on campus and by the first practice, it's like, yeah, he can go. Yeah, he's a guy that can go for us and a guy that can go make plays for us and a guy that we're going to need to count on well into the season. Reason why I stress this, think about the Alabama teams that go and win national titles, the teams that you think about hoisting some hardware at the end of the year. They all have elite secondary play, man. I mean, Alabama has a history of having great players at a variety of positions, but that safety position especially, that secondary room is special at Alabama. Nick Saban takes pride in that secondary room. I need to see the free safety position step in and be able to hold their own and add to what we have at corner. That's going to be crucial for the vertical passing games that you're going to play against in the SEC and have to play against once you get into the college football playoff territory. So the conversation around how do they mesh under the new coordinators? Are we playing fast? Are we playing free? Again, quote, are guys flying around? I don't want to read too much into it, but that would be the kind of sentiment you would like to have communicated from us on this show. Again, make sure you subscribe. We're going to talk about spring intel about Alabama and on Bama Insider. Pulse of the quarterback race. How's that shaping up? New playbook, level playing field across the board. Eli Holstein, can you step into the saddle here, brother? Jalen Milroe, he's got the most game experience. Ty Simpson, tons of buzz around him. Some people think he's the favorite to win the job. I don't know. Can somebody separate and be the alpha dog? That's usually good news. If someone can separate themselves and be the clear favorite through 15 practices, that means you got a guy. Okay, so the pulse of that quarterback race with no more Bryce Young, someone's going to have to step in there and take over that offense that had some struggles outside of number 9 last year. All right, but a new system, guys won't be thinking as much is the hope. Now, at the safety position, the free safety position, Caleb Downs is a guy now. He's a guy we told you're going to have to know about him. I don't think they're going to be able to keep him off the field, but who's taking reps at that free safety spot? Because great secondaries is what marks great Nick Saban teams. Keep it locked right here. We got you all year long. College football content 365 days a year. We're live on Tuesday, live on Thursday. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. We're going to have Shane Beamer, head coach of South Carolina, joining the program. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you're locked in for that. Nick Break lifting heavy. If you've been around here for a while, you know this already, but this is your show, the People's College Football Show. If you have not yet joined the party and subscribed, now is the time. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, at JD Piquel. We'll see y'all out there. We'll see y'all around, but we're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.